There is a moment that confuses so many people, and maybe it has happened to you too. You meet someone kind, someone patient, someone who actually listens to you. At first, it feels exciting. You think maybe this time will be different. Maybe this is finally the safe relationship you always wanted. But then something strange starts happening inside you. The closer they get, the more uncomfortable you feel. Their sweet texts suddenly feel overwhelming. Their love starts feeling heavy instead of comforting. You begin needing more space. You take longer to reply. You start noticing tiny flaws in them that never bothered you before. Part of you wants love badly, but another part of you feels trapped the second it becomes real. And then one day, you pull away. Not because they hurt you, not because you stopped caring, but because being loved somehow started feeling unsafe. If that sounds familiar, you are not broken. And you are definitely not alone. What you may be experiencing is something called avoidant attachment. That is a pattern where your brain learned, usually very early in life, that closeness can feel dangerous, overwhelming, or emotionally risky. And the painful part is that many people with avoidant attachment do not even realize it is happening. They just think they are bad at relationships, or too independent, or impossible to love. But there is actually a reason your heart reacts this way. And today, we are going to talk about it gently, honestly, and in a way that might finally help you understand yourself. Imagine a little child who is scared, sad, or hurt. What does that child naturally want? Comfort, connection, safety. Children are built to reach for closeness when they feel upset. That is how human beings survive. A child cries, and a caring adult responds with warmth, attention, and comfort. Over time, the child learns something very important. They learn that emotions are safe to share. They learn that love feels calming. They learn that closeness helps pain go away. But not every child gets that experience. Some children grow up in homes where emotions feel ignored, criticized, or overwhelming. Maybe when you were upset, nobody asked how you felt. Maybe your parents loved you, but they were emotionally distant. Maybe you were told things like, "Stop being dramatic," or "You are too sensitive." Maybe love in your house came with pressure, stress, anger, or unpredictability. And slowly, without realizing it, your brain adapted. Because children always adapt. If closeness feels painful often enough, your nervous system starts trying to protect you from needing people too much. Your nervous system is basically your body's alarm and safety system. It controls how safe or unsafe you feel emotionally and physically. So instead of learning, "People help me feel safe," you may have learned something very different. You may have learned, "Depending on people hurts," or "Needing people is dangerous," or even, "I can only feel safe if I handle everything alone." That survival pattern can follow you into adulthood without you even noticing it. And this is where relationships become confusing. Because deep down, you still want love. Almost everyone does. But when someone actually gets emotionally close to you, your nervous system reacts like you are losing safety instead of gaining it. That is why you can miss someone terribly, but still avoid their calls. That is why you can crave connection, then suddenly feel trapped once you have it. That is why you can care deeply about someone while also wanting to run away from them. Your brain is not asking, "Do I love this person?" Your brain is asking, "Is closeness safe?" And if your early experiences taught you that closeness feels stressful, your body may react before your mind even understands what is happening. This is why avoidant attachment feels so confusing. Part of you wants intimacy. Another part of you fears it. Think about it like touching a hot stove as a child. Even years later, your body reacts carefully around heat because it remembers pain. Your emotional system works the same way. If closeness once led to disappointment, rejection, pressure, criticism, or emotional overwhelm, your brain remembers. Even when your current partner is kind. Even when they are patient. Even when they genuinely care about you. And this creates a heartbreaking cycle. At the beginning of relationships, things often feel exciting because there is distance. There is mystery. There is space. You can enjoy the fantasy of connection without fully feeling emotionally exposed. But once the relationship becomes more real, your protective system activates. Maybe they start saying they miss you more often. Maybe they talk about the future. Maybe they become emotionally vulnerable with you. And suddenly, instead of feeling happy, you feel pressure. You start focusing on small imperfections. You feel irritated more easily. You feel emotionally tired after spending time together. Sometimes you even convince yourself you lost feelings completely. But many times, it is not the love disappearing. It is fear showing up, and fear can disguise itself in very sneaky ways. Sometimes fear sounds like, "I just need space." Sometimes fear sounds like, "Maybe they are not actually right for me." Sometimes fear sounds like, "I do not want anyone controlling me." And space itself is not bad. Independence is not bad either. Healthy people need both connection and personal freedom. But avoidant attachment is different because the distancing happens automatically whenever emotional closeness increases. It becomes a protective reflex, like pulling your hand away before thinking. And here is something many people do not realize. Avoidant attachment does not mean you do not feel deeply. In fact, many avoidant people feel emotions very intensely. They just learned very early that showing those emotions was unsafe or unhelpful. So instead of expressing pain openly, they suppress it. Suppress means pushing feelings down or hiding them from yourself. Maybe you tell yourself you do not care when you actually care a lot. Maybe you distract yourself with work, phones, hobbies, or constant busyness. Maybe you become uncomfortable when conversations get emotional. Maybe you shut down during conflict instead of talking honestly. That shutdown response is often your nervous system trying to protect you from emotional overwhelm. Because somewhere in your past, emotions stopped feeling manageable, and this can create painful misunderstandings in relationships. Your partner may think you do not care, but inside, you may care deeply and simply not know how to stay emotionally present without feeling unsafe. This is why many avoidant people feel misunderstood. People often describe them as cold, distant, or emotionally unavailable. But underneath that distance is usually fear. Fear of rejection, fear of losing independence, fear of disappointment, fear of emotional dependence, and sometimes fear of being fully seen. Because being truly seen by someone means they could also hurt you. For many avoidant people, vulnerability feels incredibly risky. Vulnerability means allowing someone to see your real feelings, fears, needs, and emotions. And if your younger self learned that vulnerability led to pain, criticism, or abandonment, your brain naturally tries to avoid it. This can even affect the type of people you are attracted to. Many avoidant people unconsciously choose emotionally unavailable partners because unavailable people feel safer. Think about that for a second. If someone keeps distance from you emotionally, you never have to fully face deep intimacy. You can want them without feeling fully trapped by closeness. But when someone healthy and emotionally available enters your life, it can feel unfamiliar. And unfamiliar things often feel unsafe to the nervous system, even when they are actually good for you. This is why healthy love can sometimes feel boring, uncomfortable, or suspicious at first. Not because healthy love is bad, but because your body got used to emotional inconsistency instead of emotional safety. Imagine growing up listening to loud noise every day. Silence might actually feel strange at first. Your nervous system adapts to what feels familiar, and many people confuse familiar with safe, but they are not the same thing. This is such an important truth. Familiar does not always mean healthy, and healthy does not always feel familiar right away. Now, if you are listening to this and recognizing yourself, you may also notice something else. You probably learned to become extremely self-reliant. Self-reliant means depending mostly on yourself. Maybe you are the person everyone sees as strong, the person who handles problems alone, person who rarely asks for help. Maybe people admire your independence, but deep inside, needing nobody may not actually feel empowering all the time. Sometimes it feels lonely, because human beings are not designed to carry everything alone. Even the strongest people need emotional connection. But when closeness once felt unsafe, independence becomes armor. Armor protects you, but it also blocks closeness. Think about wearing heavy armor every single day. It may protect your body, but eventually it also prevents hugs, touch, softness, and comfort. Emotional armor works the same way. And the hard part is that many avoidant people do not realize how much emotional energy this protection takes. Constantly suppressing emotions is exhausting. Constantly analyzing relationships is exhausting. Constantly keeping people at a safe distance is exhausting. Sometimes you may feel emotionally numb without understanding why. Numb means disconnected from feelings. That numbness is not because you are heartless. It is often because your nervous system has been protecting you for a very long time, and protection can become automatic. But here is the beautiful part. Patterns learned in childhood can change. Your brain is adaptable. Psychologists call this neuroplasticity. That simply means your brain can form new patterns and experiences over time. You are not stuck being this way forever. Healing starts when you stop judging yourself and start understanding yourself. Because shame does not heal attachment wounds. Awareness does. Instead of saying, "Why am I like this?" With frustration, you can begin asking, "What is my nervous system trying to protect me from?" That question changes everything. It creates compassion instead of shame. And compassion is incredibly important for healing. Healing avoidant attachment does not mean becoming emotionally perfect overnight. It does not mean suddenly loving vulnerability. It means slowly teaching your nervous system that safe connection is possible. Very slowly. Very gently. Sometimes healing looks like staying present during uncomfortable conversations instead of shutting down immediately. Sometimes healing looks like admitting you care about someone even when it feels scary. Sometimes healing looks like noticing the urge to run away without automatically obeying it. And yes, at first, this can feel deeply uncomfortable. Because your body is learning something new. Think about learning to swim after years of fearing water. At first, even shallow water feels scary. But with safety, patience, and practice, your body slowly realizes it does not need to panic anymore. Emotional healing works similarly. And one of the most important parts of healing is finding emotionally safe relationships. Not perfect relationships. Safe relationships. People who respect your boundaries while also encouraging emotional honesty. People who do not shame you for needing space, but also do not disappear emotionally. People who communicate calmly instead of using guilt, pressure, or manipulation. Because safe relationships help retrain the nervous system. Every healthy interaction teaches your brain a new possibility. Maybe closeness does not always lead to pain. Maybe vulnerability does not always end in rejection. Maybe love can feel calm instead of overwhelming. And if you are someone who has been hurt by an avoidant partner, this conversation matters for you too. Because understanding attachment can help you stop personalizing everything. When someone pulls away, it does not always mean you are unlovable. Sometimes it means they are fighting old survival patterns they do not fully understand yet. That does not excuse harmful behavior, but it can explain it, and understanding creates clarity. Now, something else important needs to be said. Avoidant attachment is not a life sentence. People absolutely can become more secure emotionally. Secure attachment means feeling comfortable with both closeness and independence. It means being able to love without constantly fearing emotional loss of freedom. And healing often happens through small moments, not dramatic breakthroughs. A small, honest conversation. A moment of staying emotionally present instead of escaping. A moment of asking for support. A moment of allowing yourself to be cared for. These tiny moments slowly teach your nervous system a new story. A safer story. And if you have spent years believing you are just bad at relationships, I really want you to hear this clearly. You adapted. Your brain learned survival strategies based on your experiences. Those strategies may not help your relationships now, but they once helped protect you emotionally. There is nothing shameful about that. Your younger self was trying to survive the best way they could. And maybe nobody ever taught you how safe love is supposed to feel. Maybe nobody showed you that connection can exist without losing yourself. Maybe nobody taught you that emotional needs are not weakness, but you can still learn now. Human beings continue learning love throughout life, and healing does not require becoming a completely different person. You do not need to stop valuing independence. You do not need to become emotionally intense overnight. You simply need to slowly create more safety around connection. More honesty, more awareness, more compassion toward yourself. Because underneath the distance, underneath the fear, underneath the pulling away, there is usually someone who deeply wants connection but learned to fear what they needed most. And that is not weakness. That is pain. Pain that deserves understanding, not judgment. So the next time you feel yourself pulling away from someone who genuinely cares about you, pause for a moment. Ask yourself gently, am I losing feelings or am I feeling unsafe? That one question can open a door to self-awareness that changes your entire life. And if this conversation made you feel seen today, I hope you remember something important. You are not too distant to be loved. You are not too complicated to heal. And you are not broken. Your nervous system learned protection long before you learned understanding. But with awareness, patience, and safe connection, people really can change. Little by little, moment by moment. And if you want more conversations like this about attachment, emotional healing, and the science behind why we love the way we do, you can subscribe and stay with us here. You deserve relationships that feel safe, calm, and real. And most importantly, you deserve to believe that kind of love is possible for you too.